All right, people. All right, people. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And this is going to be a wonderful show. Before I get into hollering names, calling out names, I wanted to mention one of my sponsors that's going to sponsor me tonight's podcast tonight. And I want to I want to talk about certain things tonight, but before we get started, I want to wait enough guys get on here. Tonight's podcast is sponsored by Legal Health Firm. If you're injured in a car or truck accident, victim of police misconduct, shooting, nursing home neglect, birth injury, call the personal injury civil rights attorney at Legal Health Firm at 312 600 8559. Again, 312 600 8559. Or visit them on Facebook. These are the lawyers that I personally use and trust. Legal Help Firm. Many of you guys know who the civil rights attorneys are with Legal Help Firm that put up the pictures of people that have been deceased and killed here in the city of Chicago. So make sure the telephone number is 312 600 8559. Again, 312 600 8559. Tonight's podcast is sponsored by Legal Help Firm. All right, people, let's get started. This is live, uncut, unedited. Make sure you guys share this video. Share this video. And also tonight podcast, we're going to talk about the police pulling us over. Also, we might dip in about O.J. Simpson. So we'll probably have a little segment about O.J. Simpson that we know about, that the murder trial. We want to give condolences to his family. He died today, I believe, at age 76 with a battling of some type of, I think it was colon cancer. I'm not sure. But okay, guys, I need you guys to come on in, share the video. This is live, uncut, unedited. This is where we tell the truth and shame the devil. And I appreciate you guys. I really do. As I say, the topic today is we're going to talk about what to do when the police pull you over. We want to talk about that today, people. Again, let me go into my little, I love to testify. I want to thank God for being living tonight. Thank God for putting me in 2024. I believe this is the greatest time in history. I believe we are living in the present. And this is the greatest time because we talked about some things last night. And when we talked about some things last night, this is not like the 80s. This is not like the 90s. We're living in a different day and a different time. And we have cameras to tell us. I remember back in the day that whatever the police put down on the piece of paper, you could not beat, you can rarely beat that case. But we're here today to, we're here today, and I'm expecting a guest on tonight too, a pastor. So if he's coming on tonight, we'll be hearing from a pastor, a guest tonight. So I want us to be on our best behavior tonight. Some of us, we if we don't agree with somebody, we get upset, we get mad, but do me a favor, let's respect all the guests. On this show, we all have our own opinion. Everybody has one opinion. And I want you guys to call in. I'm going to put in the call-in number on the screen there so you guys can call in and get in early before we get started. That's the best, all I can tell you. And I appreciate you guys for coming in my live. And I need you guys to share it into your groups. That would be great, too. Okay. All right. So we want to hear from the pastor. And the pastor that we're talking about, he also has a church in the area where the young man got shot and killed last month. So I'm quite sure that a lot of people in that community know who he is and what he stands for. And I want to thank Dr. D for setting him up to come on here to speak with us today. And if you got any young people that's listening to this live podcast, please sit them down in front of the podcast and listen, because I guarantee you there's some things that's going to be said and done that may help your young person to understand how law enforcement works. And that's what we focus on tonight. We might talk a little bit about O.J. Simpson, and we could talk about him. I don't have a problem with that. You know, I like O.J. Simpson, but things okay. That's the number up on the screen for those of you that need to call in. The number is definitely on the screen. All right. Matter of fact, I need everybody to go share and hit the like button. We're just not getting started, and we need some audience participation. That's always a plus. Always a plus. I only have 6 shares, so I need more shares than that, people. I need at least about 20 shares. I'm getting ready to share some things, and I need you guys to share it as well. That would be nice. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is live, uncut, unedited. Matter of fact, this is not pre-script. We don't know what's going to be said. Hopefully something be said here today that will encourage someone. We're here early. It's 9 o'clock. Not too late. It's not too late tonight, but, you know, and not too early either as well. But I appreciate you guys for coming on. This is live, uncut, unedited. This is where we tell the truth and shame the devil. All right. I need you guys to share the live. If you're on YouTube, share the live. If you're on YouTube, share, hit like. If you're on X, make sure you hit and like and share. All right. We want to make sure that we get the message out. Remember, I told you we're living in a good day and time. We all don't have to assemble in one building to get our message across. We can go by virtual internet and be in one room like we're doing tonight. That's what we're doing. This is live, uncut, unedited, people. All right. I need you guys to put it in your share it wherever you may be watching me, YouTube or Facebook. I appreciate you, because you know a lot of times we get on here and everybody like, what was said? What you know, we have to keep repeating ourselves. Okay. I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. I'm getting ready to get started. I'm just waiting a few more people to come on here, and I thank you guys for being patient, really being patient with me. And thank you guys for your blessings, your donations, your well wishes, and your prayers. I don't want to take nothing for granted at all. At all. Hey, Kenny, Nicole, Val, what's going on? I see you guys. Let me go in a little message box. Jules Smith, Tamara, all right. Diane Gangs, Ella Clark. Hey, how you doing? Louis Ramsey, what's up, bro? All right. Karen Crosby Martin, all right. Denise Blunt, all right. I see you. Emmanuel. Peggy Gay, what's up, Peggy? Sarah, what's up, Sarah? Stephen, what's up? Stephen from South Hollands. Raven Harris, all right. JD, what's going on? Vicky Gavin, all right. Brother Islam, all right. Latanya Gamblin, all right. Y'all coming in tonight. All right, Miss Delia, all right. I see you. I miss you too, my dear sister. Sharice Wright, Ron Gilmore, okay. All right, we in here. Peggy Gay, all right. We here. Christiana, all right. We here. Bonnie Williams, y'all in here tonight. Marcus Robinson said, what's the topic? What do you do when you're stopped by the police? All right. That's what we do. Also, we have a guest tonight. We got Pastor Doctor. He's going to be coming in and speaking to us about his community. That police shooting took place in his area. He's a pastor. He's over like 3 churches, I believe, on the west side. So he's going to be coming in tonight and speaking with us. I want you guys to give him your undivided attention. Give Pastor Anderson his give him the same respect that you give me. Even if you don't agree with something he said, hey, hear him out. And we here to help each other. The Bible said, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So we need knowledge and information. And this live is not to belittle any type of law enforcement, but this live is to teach and tell young men what to do when you are stopped by a police officer. No matter if it's a suburban police, it's a city police, you need to know it. There's some rules engagements, because at the end of the day, the law enforcement, they want to come home, you want to come home, and hey, this it. So I'm going to open up the stage. I got a few guests call in tonight on the panel. I got Dr. D on here. I have Pastor Anderson. I have Helen, and she's going to talk tonight. And my phone lines are open, people. I think I see a CPD on here, which is a good thing. I welcome police. I welcome police. Anybody can just tell us what type of message can we deliver to our young people to inform them. I see Marcus Robertson on here. Inform them what not to do and what to do when you stop by a police officer. Also, people, we might have a two-part segment. We might talk about O.J. Simpson tonight too as well. We'll see how that play out. We'll definitely see how that play out again. And just before we get started, people, I want to make another announcement real quick from one of my sponsors. You know, we gotta do the right thing. Tonight's podcast is sponsored by Legal Health Firm. If you're injured in a car or truck accident, or victim of police misconduct, shooting, nursing home, neglect, birth injury, call the personal injury and civil rights attorney at Legal Health Firm, area code 312-600-8559. Again, 312-600-8559, or visit them on Facebook. These are the lawyers that I personally use and trust. Now, put my word on there. So I want to give a shout out to Legal Health Firm for sponsoring this podcast tonight. Thank you so much, Legal Health Firm. Okay, I'm going to go with Pastor Anderson. I believe his last four digits is 0806. Pastor, are you there? Dr. Pastor, are you there? All right, Doc. Good evening, Doc. You know, as the Bible said, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So I want to appreciate you. I'm led out, and whatever God tell you to say, hey, say what God tell you to say tonight. And our topic is about what to do when the police stop you, and what can you tell us? What advice can you give us? And even some stories about your community where that police shooting took place. But go ahead, Pastor, Dr. Pastor Anderson. Go ahead. Yes. Hold on, Pastor. Everybody's saying they can't hear you. I don't know if something wrong. Guys in the panel, Dr. D, can you hear me? They said they can't hear the pastor. I don't. Hold on, let me just. I can hear. Okay, I need everybody to put their phone on mute. Everybody put their phone on mute. Everybody said they can't hear the pastor. I don't know what's going on with the sound. I tested sound before I came on here. Hold on. Let's see. Lost audio. Hold. Let me see. Make sure. Okay, I'm good on this end. Hold on, Pastor. Hold on. Let me just make sure I got everything. The phone charged up. I don't know, man. You know, when you got a great show, the devil always try to come on in and just take up. But we're gonna rebuke the devil, and we're gonna that's it, because this is a great show. I appreciate you, Pastor. Okay, she said can't hear no sound, no vibe. Ain't that crazy? I did a sound check before I came in here, and okay, it said vibe. Okay, Pastor, say something. Give me a mic check. Mic check. Okay, if you guys can hear him, let me know if you can hear the pastor. I'm talking about the people in the messenger, the ones in the messenger. Okay, in the messenger, if you hear the pastor, say yes. Say some Pastor Pastor Anderson. They saying no, no, no. That's crazy. That is crazy. I mean, all right, hold on. Yeah, do your lawyer help tenants? No, okay, no, can't hear him. And that's something. This got to be Facebook, y'all. This got to be. Y'all just hold on. Let me work this out because I did a sound. No, we're talking about the audience, not you guys. I hear them loud and clear. I hear them loud and clear. We talk about the people that's in. Let me see. Hold on, people. Hold on. Let me just check something. Oh my God, this is crazy. Hold on. Let's see. Let me check my audio. It could be me. My settings, people. And you know what? It's my. You know what? Pastor, forgive me. It's my. It's man. They should be able to hear you now. Go ahead, Pastor. That's me. That's my fault, people. Yep. If you can hear the pastor.
Hello.
Yeah, say count to 10 real quick for me, Pastor.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay. Can you hear now? We hear only you. Come on, people. I'll give you a. Can you hear him? Yes. Okay. That's good. That's good. Somebody said here. Okay, Pastor, you got to start from the beginning. Start from the beginning. Go ahead, Pastor.
No problem. Okay. Again, good evening. Thank you for the invitation. As a community leader, I won't repeat everything, but I will cover everything. Again, as you stated, this is not bashing the officers. This is not bashing our community. One of the things that the community lack, or one of the issues inside of our community that we are facing, is the lack of trust between the officers and the community. And there's a lack of trust on both ends. There is an unease feeling on both ends. The officers unease about the community is unease about the officers. However, in the median, there still have to be a level of respect for law enforcement, but at the same time, there has to be a bridging of the gap between community and officers. What encouragement can I give? As a community leader, the encouragement that I can give is coming up with ways and implementing them inside of the community to rebuild and structure a better relationship between the officers and the community, like getting to know the individuals inside of the community, and then also our community understanding that we have to come out and be better. As a community leader, I encourage men to come back out in the community and help these young boys grow up to be better young men, teaching them to respect themselves, teaching them how to carry themselves. When we look inside of the structure of our community right now, there is a lack of respect, there is a lack of leadership, and there's a lack of role models. And so, if I would encourage anything on tonight, I would encourage even some of these officers, some of the commanders and lieutenants, that they get involved inside of these different communities and become hands-on. I will not touch on the incident much of the shooting that took place, but what I will say is that this is not something that just happened coincidentally. This is something that we see often inside of the community. And again, because there is an unease on both ends, it will be repetitive until we begin to build a bridge to fix the gap between the relationship in the community and the officers. What do I encourage young Black men to do when they are being pulled over. I encourage them to try to their best ability to comply with the officer that is there. And if they are not comfortable with the officer that is there, before they go any further, that they require a sergeant or someone to come out to assist, because there are times where there are amateurs or new officers on the force who, again, may not be comfortable inside of the district that they have been sent in, and their reaction is not the best reaction, or their response is not the best response. And because you don't know this as a driver, the best thing for you to do is to comply to the best of your ability. I'm not just saying this because we're on the line.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in a situation right here in my own community 3 times within one day, pulled over for absolutely no reason. Absolutely. However, it was my response to that officer that allowed me to still be able to go home. I did go and complain about that. However, as I said before tonight, and I'll say tonight, there have to be a bridging in the gap between the community and the officers in order for us to see some effective changes. That simply means getting inside of these communities and learning about the communities going inside of those districts and learning about those who are patrolling the area in which we stay. It is imperative. It is imperative. I want to say this. It is imperative on both ends, the officers and the Black community, let me say it that way, for us to understand that there is unease on both sides. There is a lack of trust on both sides. And so the best thing for us to do is to comply. And then once we have complied, if there's still an unease, call a superior so that they're able to control the situation or manage the situation a whole lot better. But I encourage not just Black men, but Black young ladies, Black women, when you are being pulled over, comply, because we want you to go home. Mm-hmm. We don't want another news feed. We don't want another headliner. We don't want another situation where it's causing a bigger gap inside of a community or a bigger gap inside of a relationship that needs to be mended. And ultimately, again, a lot of this can take place if community leaders, community activists, and men show back up inside of these communities and kind of watch them and nurture them the right way.
Pastor Anderson, I have a question to ask you, and this is not to put you on the spot.
Yes.
And I'm in agreement 100% with what all you have said tonight so far. My question is to you, what, speaking to the young people, I'm putting my mind to the young people. I have seen some of these officers disrespect the young people. In other words, they put a bait out there and know the young person is going to jump. Then when the officers use force, you're not going to win, period. You're not going to win. So I've seen officers disrespect people who they pulled over, talk to them like they're little kids or something, or child or something. And that's Black people, we have dealt with centuries of trauma, untreated trauma, I would say. Not making an excuse for bad behavior or things like that. And how do we reach the young people? I mean, the young people that's driving and they already sensitive, and a cop come along having a bad day and he says something slick out of his mouth, and there we go. We got an altercation going back and forth. What can we do to properly address this issue?
Again, I would state to answer that is, again, try to carry yourself as much as possible. Being a recipient of this, of what you just explained, let me share it this way. And again, I'm not bashing anyone. Mm-hmm. I was traveling northbound on Holman. I come to a complete stop. I signal. I was going to my home. I was As soon as I turned down the block that I live on, the lights come on. I finished parking as I was doing. Three officers jumped out. um, one was provoking. One was aggressive. After talking calm for so long, I politely told the officer, "I no longer want to talk to you. I need your sergeant to come out." Now, while I understand I may have been level headed and been able to control that, there are other young people who's not going to do that. They eventually are going to attack back. Again, I would encourage for both the officers and the young person to understand both parties are uneasy. And I would definitely encourage the commanders. I cannot tell them, but I would encourage the commanders and the sergeants, be mindful of the area that you put amateur officers. If you know there's an area where there's heavy traffic with young people, be mindful of putting them in there because, again, I'm not speaking bad about none. The young people got bad tempers, and some officers have trigger happy fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be mindful of that because the two don't mix. That's like trying to put water and oil in the same container. It won't mix.
Mm-hmm. Now, something I didn't hear you say, and I'm gonna hopefully get down to it. When an officer, I don't want to answer the question, but when an officer pull me over, what I do is I make sure I let all the windows down if it's night, and so they can see everything. And this is what I do. I don't care if I'm upset. I don't care if I figure they just illegally pull me over. I pull over to a nice location where a lot of people that let the window down, and I keep both my hands on the steering wheel. That's what I do. I'm just saying what I do. And I try my best to have the right attitude. We all get a little upset. I said, Lord, let me have the right attitude. And normally what I do, I always video record. If I don't do nothing, sit it on my lap or sit it on the dashboard. I'm not going to put the phone inside the officer's face or anything like that, but I'll just sit it on the dash. So even if they can't see it, they can hear what's going on inside of the car. That's what I do, I remember one time I had an altercation with the police. I gave him my license and my insurance and things like that. And he looked it up in the car. He said, "Get out the car." So I asked him, I said, "What? I got a warrant and my license no good. Get out the car." And knowing me, I'm stubborn. I'm like, oh my God. I said, "Well, you know what? Let me go ahead and get on out this car. I know I'm clean. I don't have nothing on me." So I got out and it just kept escalating. And the supervisor came on the situation. And I hate to say it, but the supervisor didn't even make it no better. And I told him in front of all his people under him, I said, "Listen, you're supposed to be an example to these officers out, and you're not having a good example at all, at all." And I told him that, and I meant that, because if you can't get a supervisor and he can't de-escalate the situation, something is wrong. Something is wrong. This is just my personal experience. Something is wrong. So I'm saying I can't be hot-headed at times, and I know myself. So that's why I have to calm down, be quiet, because I'm looking at like when a law enforcement pulled me over, I'm looking at I could be dead. That's how I'm looking at it. So make sure that I do everything in my might to keep them from pulling that trigger. That's what I do. I'm just me personally. I don't care if they wronger than two left shoes. If they wrong, pulling me over, and I know they're wrong, and Lord, let me have the right tone. I have to pray. So that's just my personal thing. Any young person out there that's listening to this conversation, I would advise you, if the law enforcement pull you over, don't get into no high-speed chase. If you got to drive an extra block, make sure you pull in front of a gas station somewhere a lot of people at, and raise your window down, keep your hands on the steering wheel. If it's at nighttime, cut on your middle light. And when you reach for your license insurance, they ask you, you say, "Hey, officer, I'm reaching for my license. My insurance is in the glove department." And you make sure you move, because like you said, Pastor, they afraid, I'm afraid, and and they have the authority to use force. if they feel like their life is being threatened. So we have to, young people, we have to comply or die. And I always tell people, if you just as much as you're ready to kill, you better be ready to die. Because I tell people, if you point a gun at the police or shoot a gun at the police, it will not end well for you, period. All right, Pastor, you can comment on that. I just want to, that's just my person. Yeah. Go.
But Martin, I'm in total understanding. Let me say it that way, of what you said, and I'm in total agreement. However, I want us to place ourselves back at 19 years old, at 20 years old, where we are now, level head wise or thinking wise, is now. But we have to be able to talk to the 19-year-old. And I know the 19-year-old me, I didn't care who you was. You weren't going to talk to me any type of way. That was just me. And so my encouragement, that's why I say my encouragement to that young individual is to take the time to consider how you feel and what that officer may be doing. And something you just said is absolutely true, and it's absolutely is a slogan that needs to be implanted in the hearts of the young people for right now. If you don't comply, you could die. That is something to be thought about. And I'll even go as far as to say, even in the heat of the moment, consider tomorrow. Even in the heat of the moment, consider tomorrow. Do you want to be here tomorrow, or do you want to be remembered tomorrow?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
And so if I was going to encourage them anyway, because again, the generation that we are dealing with now, a great deal of them are not as level-headed as we would love for them to be. And in some cases, that's understandable, but in others, it's not. And then in the same token, there are some officers who have family and their mind is, I want to get home. And so one of the things that helped me out, even in the arena that I work in, one of the things that helped me out is baseball, the sport baseball. And the sport baseball is the amount of time that you make it home that helps you win. And that's all that's on my mind every day when I leave out my house. It's the amount of times that I make it home that makes me win.
Okay.
And so if I was to encourage young people with anything, I would encourage them with that. It's the amount of times that you make it home that you win. Not how big you are, not how bad you are, not how much you can cuss, not how many guns you can carry. It's the amount of times you make it home that calls you to be a winner.
Okay. We're going to take some calls. Stay right there, Pastor Anderson. We want to take a couple of calls from I want to ask my one of my panels. Are you ready? Helen, are you ready to talk right now? If not, I go to Dr. Davis.
Yes, Martin, I am.
Okay, go ahead. If you got any questions or concerns or whatever, go ahead. Say it.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Pastor. I definitely agree with what you were saying. I just want to add that, I have a lot of young people from out of the Inglewood area. We always dealt with the 7th district, the 7th police district. And I used to always tell them, the young guys, when you get stopped by the police, make the exchange as quick as possible. Like, just get it over as quick as possible. If they stop you, have your everything that you need, your license, registration, and insurance. Make that stop as short as possible. So I have a lot of nephews. Like I spoke about this one nephew. He was a magnet for the police. For whatever reason, he was a magnet. And so he and I would be talking, and then he would talk about, how he had got stopped by the police, and he was like, they all call me Auntie or TT. He's like, Auntie, I have my license, my insurance. I put it on the dashboard when they stopped me. He said, I don't raise my window down. He said they stop me, they come to the window, they say, can we see your license and insurance? He said he would put it up against the glass. And he's like, well, and you let the window down and give it to him. He would let his window down halfway and give it to him, and he's never had a problem with that, and then, some of the other guys, they would tell me about encounters that they've had over the years with the police. And it's like I said on the other show the other night, as they matured and got older, the encounters with police became less aggressive on their part. And so what happens is, one guy was like, after they got over the formalities, the license, the insurance, and, the police started admiring his car. Talking about he drove an old Cutlass that he had fixed up, and the cop they was asking him about his car, and he restored cars. That's what he started doing. And so, as I said before, as they got older, the encounters that they had with police became less aggressive. In 7th District, the trust with the police is getting there because they have a lot of events there. They have a lot of events. And Martin, you've been over to, and videotape a lot of events. They come out to community events. They do community cleanup. It's a lot that they do in the 7th District that where they are getting to the point where they're trying to restore this trust. There's a lot of groups in that area that do a lot of what they call it community engagement with the police in that area. For my younger people, for my 16 to 20-year-olds, calm down. That's all that I can say is, just to, calm down and just try to keep your emotions intact. It's not a big deal, if the police stop you or want to, engage with you, unless, you may be in a predicament where that, you may be in the wrong, or you have something on you that may cause some outcomes that you may not want to happen, but you still have to just try to keep your emotions intact. There was a debate the other night about if the police asked you to get out your car, that you didn't have to get out your car. Well, you play that by ear, because I'm not sure of the law if the police ask you to get out the car, if you should get out the car or if you don't. I'm not versed on that law. I know that when the police stop someone, everybody want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
The driver want to go home, and police want to go home. I was stopped by police. This was years ago, and she was very aggressive. She was very, very aggressive. But you know what? And I didn't have insurance, okay? And I'm just studying my glove compartment. I know I don't have insurance. She know I don't have insurance. I'm just digging through all of these papers. And so I turned and looked at her, and she put the light. She put light in my face. She said, "I know you." I said, "Huh?" She said, "I know you." She said, "I met you at the Salvation Army on 51st and Ashland." And then it kind of came to me because I was like, "Oh yeah." She said, "You helped me pick out a jacket because I was looking for a bomber jacket. I was on my way to France." I was like, "Oh yeah, I do remember." And so she said, "Get you some insurance." I said, "Okay." And she let me go.
Mm-hmm.
There can be good encounters, even if there's a bad encounter, or you encounter a cop that may be coming at you, aggressive, and you try to diffuse or you hold on to your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You don't allow other people to dictate how you will behave in situations. Don't allow people that. Don't give people that control over you. So they feel like I'm going to bait him or her in because I just want to fight tonight.
Okay.
If you encounter a cop, don't give people that control over you.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Helen, finish up.
They're
I got
able
another guest on here too. Okay, I got another
But
guest.
they're able to dictate how you would behave in a situation. Okay, Mark, I'm going on mute.
Okay. I got another guest also, Dr. Robertson. And I see you,
Yes.
Marcus. I see, and I want you to go ahead, Dr. Robertson, go ahead, talk and give us your words in your own speech. Go ahead. The floor is open for you.
Oh, yeah. So, sure, I'm Dr. Robinson. Born and raised, of course, in Chicago, so quite frequently dealt with the Chicago Police Department. And there are always situations where I'm dealing with young individuals who kind of come around and ask for advice on how to deal with being pulled over by the police or being stopped by the police. Of course, they are, just regular everyday people who probably haven't done anything, but it's always important for them to know their rights, for them to understand the Miranda law, for them to understand what it means to be stopped and frisked and what those laws are, and just their basic human rights. It's just a shame that a lot of them have to learn those things, along with learning, how to drive a car or how to, shop for yourself, how to behave when you're stopped by the police. It's just a rite of passage for some of our, especially our underrepresented populations, especially those that are Black and brown individuals. We just have to carry ourselves in a different way. Most advice that I always give them is to comply, to be polite, to respond. First of all, don't be in situations where you won't get pulled over or get stopped and frisked, but sometimes you don't even have any causation at all. It just kind of happens. So just being aware, being prepared, being cognizant of their surroundings and who they're hanging with. That's how they can mitigate it. But if it does happen, they just have to understand what their rights are and don't be afraid to kind of let the officers know, hey, I know my rights. What did I do? And just kind of keep themselves in control and not get out of control, not be disrespectful, because that can only escalate the situation even further.
Question, Dr. Robinson, for young people. Well, I'm 55, so I'm much mature than I was when I was 19, 18, and things like that. So I had was saying earlier on the live, I don't know if he was on here or not. Huh? Oh, somebody just came in. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I said she's older. She's older.
Okay, older man. Okay, no problem. I want to know what advice, not only what do you do? We had an attorney come on the other day, and he was saying that the best way to fight a cop is in court. You can't win in the street. So that's one of the best advice I will give the young people. Most young people are hot-headed, and we know they use this slogan, say F12. Yo, you guys know what I'm saying. It's all they say it, they mean it, they believe it, they sleep it, drink it, listen to it. That's what they F12. And a lot of carjacking is coming from young people. A lot of taking off running from the police, young people. I'm not saying that older people don't do it as well, but it's a lot of young people out here they put themselves in a bad situation. You got four guys riding in the car with you, your music loud, everybody got their hoodies on, their face masks on, their hat going to the left or to right. Then you got a cloud of smoke. Now, when the officer pulls you over, the first thing you're gonna holler, race, you racist. Why you pulled me over? Even though you might be legit, but you're asking for it. You're asking for it. So my point is, why young people, they hang in these high crime areas, you're gonna get pulled over in certain areas. They targeting cars, certain cars that young people drive. A hot car is a Dodge Challenger, any Chryslers, Kias, they're going to pull them cars over, period. Well, you said, well, Martin, this is my money. I could buy whatever I want. My mom helped me buy it. And yes, you're correct. But young people, why buy a car that you know that is always been stolen or using in a crime? It's just not good. So my point is to you, doctor, how do you relate to the young people and get that in their brain? And I'm mature enough to handle that, but some folks 18, 19, 20, 21, they're just hot. What do you do? What do you say to?
Yeah. I work with formerly incarcerated reentry citizens, justice challenged individuals, and adults on a daily basis. It's not their burden to de-escalate. That burden doesn't fall on private citizens. We have the right to enjoy our life. But it is the burden of the police officers to de-escalate a situation. And that's what I always with mainly I'm dealing with young men. One other thing that is important to know, just going on the premise of what you just said, they're seemingly putting themselves out there. If you know this is the particular car they're looking for, if you know they're looking for people with hoodies, if you know that it's illegal to smoke in your car while you're driving or be a passenger in your smoking. All of those are magnetisms to get pulled over. And, knowing your rights is one thing, like I mentioned before, but in a situation where everybody in the car nobody's going to be thinking about no rights. But if they put themselves out there like that, it's not to say you get what you put out there, but in a sense you do. If that hostility is something you're riding around with, and you two had to stay calm, how do you expect the police officers to respect you when you're that way? It's a stressful experience. So that's what I always prepare the brothers when I talk to them. I let them know, you could put the officers at ease, and sometimes you still get up injured or killed because you with other people who may not have that mindset. So what I always do is just make sure that they understand ways to reduce the risk. Just staying calm themselves, not exhibiting hostility themselves, and don't put themselves in a situation where they can end up being injured or killed, because the police officers are there to serve and protect, not just you as a citizen, but also to themselves in their culture and each other. So, when you get pulled over and you're doing all those things that you just mentioned, you just have to make sure that you reduce the risk to yourself and try your best to, especially the formerly incarcerated and the reentry citizens that I've dealt with, they are usually on parole or probation. And, that is another thing that I immediately bring some internal light on, shed some internal light on. If you already know you on paper and you still gonna do this, then, you're gonna have to suffer the consequences. But when you're pulled over and you got some sense about yourself and you're not asking for it, so to speak, just know your rights. Both drivers and passengers have the right to remain silent. And, they can ask, am I free to leave, and just stay silent. But if it escalates a little bit more, just stay in the car and, turn the car off. Just some of those simple things that we kind of teach them. Put their hands on the dashboard. It becomes rote to some of our younger generations, because their fathers or their grandfathers, especially the men, and now even some young ladies, they kind of understand that these are things that we have to do as Black and brown underrepresented populations. It's just something you have to do. If you know that you don't have a driver's license, you shouldn't be driving. I mean, some of those things are just common sense. But if you bring drugs into that equation, any sudden movements with your hands, the officer can't see you picking up your driver's license because you're too inebriated or whatever the reason is, or you just being combative, you're putting yourself at risk. So, it's just a situation where it's an opportunity to educate individuals. We have plenty of community violence intervention, individuals with lived experience who teach these tools of cognitive behavior for individuals, how to act when you're in a stressful approach to be in a stressful situation. You have to think about these risks ahead of time. And that's just how you kind of plan your safety for yourself out there in those streets.
I agree.
Martin.
Yes, go ahead.
Martin, can I ask the doctor a question?
Yes.
So I was listening to the doctor, and I wanted to ask you a question. When you mentioned like hoodies, right? And that that can be a stereotype. They see Black men in hoodies, but I do see officers wearing hoodies, just as our young men, in the neighborhoods, and they wear hoodies. But our young men will be stereotyped if they in a car with a hoodie and driving with a hoodie on. But I see officers also driving with a hoodie on, with the hood, with their hoods on. And so what is the, I don't know, why is the comparison, or why is that hoodie mean a different symbol, than our young men wear than when police wear?
Well, like the police aren't really the main target here. It's usually the situation and scenario that was given was you're in a car full of your friends, you're smoking, you're driving in a situation that's not too safe, with or without drugs. And then everybody got a hood on. We've seen movies all our life where someone covers their face and covers their head, that they, they're seen as being a criminal. It doesn't mean that they are. It's just the role that has been portrayed. And it doesn't matter if they're Black or brown. You've seen Caucasian individuals wearing hoodies, and they too are looked at as being something participating or contemplating participation in some criminal activity, when it's not even that. But it only just escalates the situation. As far as police officers wearing hoodies, I mean, no one said anyone couldn't wear a hoodie. Anybody can wear one, but sometimes police officers do that to kind of blend in and connect with the community where their beat is. They come around and with a hoodie on, they are looked to be seen as, I'm in your territory, I'm meeting you where you stand. I can only give you the respect if I am able to be approachable. And sometimes they may be wearing that hoodie for that reason, because they're trying to be approachable. They're trying to connect. It doesn't always mean something negative. And they are beginning to understand that more and more. And we were talking about Trayvon, and when he had the hoodie on and he was eating Skittles and drinking apple, all of that. Ever since then, that hood has been looked at as being negative. Whereas you got people in the United States Olympics and Olympic teams who wear hoods. So it just matters and depends on the scenario. And I was basing that on the scenario that was given during our discussion. But of course, hoodies can mean different things for different people at different times.
Well, let me ask you another question, Doc. I'm going to go to our panel. Now,
has joined.
in Inglewood at nighttime is predominantly white, all white officers. And you know, race plays a place in our society. We know it. Some of us, we pretend like we don't see it. It don't exist, but it does exist. And when you encounter, this is just my personal, I'll call it a race soldier. You're in the blue and white uniform, but you're a race soldier. You hate the community that you're patrolling. And I've learned from my experience, officers that hate the community that they're serving or view us as the enemy, they're not going to treat us fairly. I've seen it. I've been to community events where they give basketball, where the police come in and play with the young people, which is a good thing. I like that. I respect that. But then you have those that they don't want no part of the community. They don't want to talk to you. All they want to do is put these cuffs on you and catch you doing something wrong. And we have those type of officers in our community. And I tell young Black men, they're waiting on one slip up. And that slip up might cost you your life. Your life. This is my opinion. And this is me speaking from out experience. I've seen different things. Some small things escalate to real big. Because one time, let me say this, and I'll let somebody else talk. I was in handcuffs on the traffic stop, and officer kept jerking my arm, So I knew if I snatched back on them, they was all going to attack me. I knew that because they said I'm resisting. So I asked the officer, I said, officer, do you have a problem with something wrong? I'm already in cuffs. I'm not moving. I'm standing still. I'm standing straight up. I'm not moving. I'm not talking. He just kept snatching my arm with the handcuffs behind. So come to find out, that's an old school trick. They told me, Martin, if you would have jerked back, they'd have been all on you. And I figured that. So I didn't do it anyway, but I asked the officer in a calmly voice. I said, do you have a problem or something? Because I see if I was moving or something. I didn't move. I was standing still, and I was surrounded by all officers, So these are the things that young men, if you're in handcuffs and the officer keeps snatching your arm, do not jerk back. Please, just let them jerk you. Please,
that is true.
Don't do that. Don't do it. I've learned from experience. Do not do that. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I want to take a step back and I'll let somebody else speak. I was born and raised in Inglewood. I use education and religion to catapult me to where I am now. So I know what it meant to be pulled over and stopped by the police living in Inglewood, seeing all that violence and drugs and crime. That was then. I heard a brother say, oh, she's older. Okay, let's go now into 2024. Whereas when we were growing up, you and I, you didn't have all these cell phones.
No,
people record stuff now. Yeah, so it's a big difference with this generation. Police officers don't have the right to confiscate your phone. They can demand it. They can demand to view your photos or the video without a warrant. And they may not delete your photos or videos under any circumstances. And if an officer orders someone to stop recording or order them to hand up their phone, the person can politely but firmly tell the officer that you do not consent to handing over your phone, and remind the officer that taking photographs of videos is your First Amendment right. We didn't have all of that when we were growing up.
Yes.
The more we give tools to the young people in the new generations, and even some of the old school brothers are still out there getting pulled over. But having someone record, whether it's the person in the car with you, maybe, as you're getting arrested, you yell out, hey, I need somebody to record. Trust me, somebody will. And as long as they're standing at a safe distance, they can do that. We didn't have that back in Inglewood, back in the day, for those officers who we felt didn't like their beat and they were, causing problems because of that. But we have it now where people take a stand. You do have some people who can stand up and say, hey, I see you. And that kind of reduces some of that stuff down from my experience living in Inglewood and now going back and giving back to that community and helping those individuals understand what their rights are, different from what mine were then up until today.
And
so hopefully it's something I said that kind of
you did. I always say that we live in a good time of history, and the reason why I say that because we're not in the 90s, we're not in the 80s, and as you said, we didn't have all these recording devices. Now even the officers have recording devices on it, which is called body cams. So it's a lot. It's not. We don't just have to take the officer word anymore. We can say, okay, well, where's the proof? The body. We can see the body cameras. You know, some cell phone. We got doorbell rings. We got cameras on people's homes now. It's so much that we did not have. You remember back in the day when the police say, hey, you had a gun or had some drugs on you, it was no question asked. You had drugs and gun. Now you got to fight it in court. But now we got the body cameras, we got audio, we got all types of electronic devices that can watch and that we can use for evidence, proof that we didn't do it. So we're living in the
courts can too.
Yes.
That's right. The city of Chicago, the state's attorney's office, all these cameras. We are one of the most highly watched cities in the nation, in the world. We have cameras everywhere, and they can pull those cameras when it's time to go to court. Just like you can pull your phone out when it's not time for you to go to court. You can take it to court and admit it as evidence, if it's ever asked. So you all kind of stand in half and half. It's just a matter of us just trying to get along, do what you're asked, and the police, you won't have a reason for them to bother you in the first place.
That's right.
Okay. Excuse me, Mark. Can I say something?
I want to go to Dr. Davis, but if Dr. Davis say no, you can go ahead. Dr. Davis, did you want to talk? If not,
okay. What I'm gonna say is just a little bit, and then he can talk. I want to thank. Okay, so everybody knows she used to be my boss, Dr. Robinson, and Dr. Anderson and I have done a lot of work together. So a lot of you all do not believe me, so I had to bring in some of my colleagues to help me out here tonight. I had to, and I'm waiting on one more to come in. So please forgive me. I'm trying my best because we need all the help we can. We need all hands on deck, and I appreciate you all. I really do appreciate you all because I know y'all have a busy schedule, and I really do appreciate my colleagues coming out, even though she's my boss. I'm still going to always call her my boss. I'm going to always call her my boss, but I appreciate you all coming in and speaking to the panel because people need to know this information, and I really do appreciate y'all, and I do appreciate Mr. Johnson for allowing you all to come on and speak to us. Thank you so much. Such last minute. I appreciate you all, and whoever that wanted to speak, I'm going on mute.
Okay, sir. 9914. Go ahead. Use the next person anyway. Go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, Mark? How y'all doing?
No, you really wasn't the next person.
I was going to say,
Go ahead.
I got a videotape. This was going on during the COVID era. I was arrested for a firearm, but I beat the case. It was downgraded to a misdemeanor because the cops lied. You see, it was on tape. They lied about me making right turns, why I made the right turn at. They statements it didn't add up to what was on the body cam. That's how, and I still got the videotape. I love to send it to you. Not only that, but, like somebody said, the lady, she was older, but, like I'm 37. I remember the cops were so heavy in our neighborhood. Do y'all remember RoboCop?
Yeah.
Smiley. Right. What was the other guy named? Remember they locked out, it was Corey, and the police, they took all those guys to jail for whatever reason. But it's like now, we got to reverse psychology on the police. Like when they doing something, that's just like I'm telling y'all, I'll beat my case because the cops lied. So we need to get that information, get the cop's badge number, and report it. And we need to keep all this on count. So every time, every time, it don't matter who it is. Like how we talking to Mark now. You know how we got you, Mark, live and edited. Now we can just whose rights been violated? Who's been proven not guilty in court because the cop lied? We report that to Mark. We give you all that information. So now we know these cops' names. We gotta take action. Man. I'm so emotional about this type of stuff, but it threw a lot of stuff off from me. It threw off, it threw off my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong, I did have a firearm, but it's like, I had problems. I couldn't legally get a firearm because I self-admitted myself into a mental hospital because I was shot. Yeah. So it's like it wasn't a way for me to get a firearm. But I guarantee you right now, I can walk anywhere in the neighborhood. I bet you anybody looking for me, anybody trying to kill me. But mentally, I was going through something because I was shot at the wrong place at the wrong time. But it's a lot going on in our neighborhood, and we not properly addressing. You know, so everybody probably got guns. Everybody probably smoking a little weed. Everybody probably a little agitated. You know, it's just because we're not properly addressing things that's going on. You know, and especially with these cops. Like, I really want to know the ethnicity. I don't know why, but I want to know the ethnicity of the police officer that fired more than 50 times or 50 so times. Because by law, you're only allowed to have 15 shots, 15 rounds in your magazine.
Yeah, he reloaded. He reloaded. But
several times. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. But hold it, young man. I need to make a statement real quick, and I got to go to the next caller. I had a caller before you. I want to say this to the young people out there that's listening, that smoke weed, my weed smokers. I want to say this to you. When a law enforcement pull you over and he roll down the window and he tell you he smell weed and you said ain't weed legal, right there, you just admitted that you've been smoking right there. You have to treat the weed like serious. You got caught right there. You just admitted that you was smoking right there. So what I'm trying to tell you guys, weed is, you have to treat weed like alcohol. You're not supposed to drive and smoke weed at the same time. It's not, that's a no-no. A lot of people don't know when you transporting weed, if you get it from the dispensary, whatever, it's supposed to be in the back of the car, in the trunk somewhere area. A lot of people don't know that. Well, they ain't gonna pull you over there. You know, you got ducks in your ashtray. People, you're asking for it. See, any seasoned law enforcement pull you over, they can find something wrong if you really get on their nerves. They're gonna search. They're gonna fish. We call it fishing. They're gonna fish. But I'm gonna go to the next caller. Marcus, go ahead. Thank you for holding, Marcus. Go ahead. 0152.
I just want to say this. I've had many traffic stops with the police growing up in my years in Inglewood, and most of them were calm. I would say that. A few of them, the officer was trying to agitate you because they thought I was the average young black man. They found out that they couldn't get me to fight. I would say to young people, just comply. What's the big issue? If they want you to roll down your window, roll down your window. I know recently, about a year or so ago, I had something on my mind, and I came out of the Jewels on 95th and Ashland, and I was speeding. I went down Ashland, speeded right past the police officer, and I just knew he was going to pull me over, which he did, but I had my window down, and my license was already in my hand, and I handed it to him. He was a white cop. He was calm. We laughed about it, and one night, I noticed that the police, if you're in a certain area of the city, high crime, they will pull you over regardless. Whether you're driving right or wrong, they will pull you over. I got pulled over by two black cops. They pulled me over, and they told me that the light above your license plate was out. I said, oh, I didn't know, officer. And then they asked me, did I have insurance? I had insurance and my driver's license, but I wasn't snotty with them. So they told me, they said, really, we don't care about the light. It's the fact that you was in a high crime area and then your light was out, and that kind of drew us suspicious. We looking for drugs and guns and all of that. But be careful and get that fixed. Well, I drove around going where I was going. And the funny part about this, I got stopped again by the same two cops. And they laughed like, oh, didn't we just stop you a few blocks? I said, yeah, you did. Oh, go ahead. Go on. Hurry up and get that car home. So my advice to young people, put your street pride to a side. Put your ego to a side. Comply. Make it home. And if you feel disrespectful, take them to court. Get you a lawyer. Take them to court. Going to court doesn't necessarily mean you're going to beat them. But hey, take them to court and try. You'll beat them in court than trying to beat them on the street. If you got a gun in your car and you're concealed and carry, they know when they pull you over, from what I've learned by license plate, but they will still ask you. Tell them where it's at. Comply. If you doing something illegal like smoking weed, don't lie to them and they smell it, because some of them will call out the K9 on you. And the K9 gonna pick it up. Then what you gonna do? you're putting yourself in more trouble. If you're going through neighborhoods like Inglewood or Roseland or other high crime area neighborhoods, don't be surprised if you get pulled over. And don't always think you're being stopped because you're black and it's racism. It's not. It's the police doing their job. You're in a high crime neighborhood, and unfortunately, the way some of us behave has created this situation that we're all suffering from.
I don't know if I
want to
can
make it home,
Marcus.
comply.
I don't know if I agree with you on that. Far as that's illegal for them to pull you over. If they don't, you got to have proper cause. We know they do it without they'll say, well, your black tail light out or your license plate out, but
they make up something.
That make up something. Then you sitting in the car, you have no way of knowing if your back tail light is out or your license plate, because you have to stay in the car unless they ask you to get out on a traffic stop. So I'm not saying that every time a cop pull you over. Sometimes they just pull you over because they just want to pull you over, because you're in a certain area. That's illegal, though. That's illegal. They do it, though. They break the law. But again, if you want to fight the police, you got to take them to court, file a complaint, because you're not going to win in the street.
Yep.
You're not going to win. You're not going to win, period.
I was about to say this.
Go ahead.
I was about to say this. They pull you over. They'll pull you over for nothing. Man, it slipped my mind. You might have to come back to me, but
I'll come back.
It's something I wanted to say that sometimes they just pull you over. You don't have to come back to me.
I'll come back to you, Marcus. I'll come back to you. Sharice, go ahead. 36.99. Then I think Bill next. Go ahead. Sharice, go ahead. Thank you for holding. Thank you for holding.
Okay, so this is what I want to say.
Go ahead.
No problem. I want to say this. I've heard everyone say, "Oh, comply." Yes, I agree, comply. However, there's another part to the complying. When you're being disrespected and roughhoused, still comply. Do not resist. Don't say anything like Helen said. Make it go as fast as you can. Get in your car. Ask for the card, the business card or whatever. And I need to stress this. Don't let it slip. If you have been disrespected, they have a website, COPA. You can file a formal complaint on your cell phone, on a computer. Illinois State Police, they have a website for citizen complaints. You don't have to go to court, but file the complaint. Get the officer's name, the badge number, the car, the location you were in. All these things matter, because if they did it to you, they've done it to others. And eventually it will catch up. It's their report card, their scorecard, their rap sheet. They have one too. So, there's a saying, the pen and paper is mightier than the sword. So you don't have to, resist and talk crazy and cuss police out. You're not going to get anywhere like that. But you have to get that pen and paper out to document this. And I'm not talking about just on your cell phone. You have to file with COPA. The COPA has, when you go to chicagopolice.org, you can file an official complaint form. Keep up with it. It's like picking the bad apples out. If enough complaints are made, they're going to have to look into it. Stop letting it slide. You can hold your tongue and do what you're told to do, because they are telling you to do something. But you don't have to let it slide. File the complaint. They have a certain standard that they have to carry up with. They shouldn't be cussing people out and open your effing door and shut the F up. I'm filing a complaint. I'm going to be a lady. I'm going to be quiet. I'm not going to go word for word. I'm not going to be arguing and acting a fool, but I'm going to file the complaint. I promise you I am. I've had more healthy relationships with police when I've been engaged. I've had police pull me over on I-55 just to look at my motorcycle and ask me about it. I thought I did something wrong. I was at the gas station on Hobolt and Empress at the gas station. And my husband knows about it. I met a female state trooper, and we stayed at that gas station for about 3 hours talking about my motorcycle. And she was saying she's ready. She wants this motorcycle, blah, blah, blah. You know, I have police officers in Joliet that I'm real cool with. And Bill is on this phone. I gave my motorcycle to one of them because he's a motorcycle cop for Joliet. He threw my motorcycle around like it was a tricycle. Am I lying, Bill? Hello?
Yeah, he on there. Go ahead. He probably got it on mute.
So I mean, I've had more positive experiences. I've seen some things and I've experienced some things, but I've had more positive experiences with police. When I got my new car a couple of years back, the pedals are on the steering wheel. I didn't know what I was doing. The car is fast. Okay. I'm coming out. I'm on in Shorewood, Illinois. I messed around and hit a pedal on the steering wheel and the car shot off. The car is very fast. I didn't know how to work the pedals. I pulled over. The Shorewood police was like, my goodness. He got my license, looked at it. He said, "Oh, you're a truck driver." I said, "Yeah." And I still had the temporary plates on the car. He said, "Okay, everything is clean." He was like, "Geez, you handled that." He was like, "You handled that." I was like, "I didn't mean to." He was like, "Go ahead, go home." It was me and my mother in the car. So I understand that depending on where you are, who you're dealing with, you know, people have bad days. But again, yes, be quiet, do what you're told. And document, gather all the information you can. If you've been disrespected, if you believe that your rights have been violated, the first thing to do is to gather all the information and go to the website and file a formal complaint. Illinois State Police has it, ChicagoPolice.org has it, County Sheriff. All these different municipalities have a way to file online of the complaint. Just make sure you have all your information. What time was it? What street were you on? What was the cross street? What was the police car number? The officer's name? All these things. That's, you know, just gather all the information. Be as a matter of fact as you can, and file the complaint. It's called a bouquet. You cannot work anywhere. You can't be a doctor. You can't. Doctors and nurses, they have a board. Professionalism board, they have to answer to those complaints. Please believe me, they have to. And so you get enough complaints, what's going to happen? They're going to start looking at you. You don't have to accept it. You just need to know how to handle it. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Okay, 4248 caller, go ahead. 4248.
Hey, everybody. I'm going to start off thanking the doctors in the panel, Dr. Davis's colleague. Although I do have to agree, or I agree and disagree, our younger people do need to know their rights. But to stand flat-footed in a lot of cases and tell a policeman that's got an issue, having a bad day, or he racist, telling him what your rights are is not going to hold him back from doing whatever it is he came there to do, because he knows your rights well than you do, because he's trained to know your rights. But the main thing, they got police in black areas and underserved areas that the police, I believe you said it a little while ago, Martin, that they don't have any connection. And whether it's a black officer or a white officer, if he think he's superior over you and look down his nose at you, you are lesser than almost a person to him. He's never going to treat you right, black or white. I've heard of a case. Today I was talking to someone. Matter of fact, it was my wife's sister walking down the street. I believe it was 63rd, and the cop sat on her and she was standing on the corner.
To cross the street. She was standing on the corner. Yeah. She was crossing the street, and it was several people waiting to cross the street. And the slick boy stuck his head out on the passenger side and hawked up spit on those people that was waiting to cross the street. Told them to get off the corner. What she should have did is went and got hawked up and spit on them. Yep.
Well, when there's no connection with these officers in these communities, maybe they should get back to some old policing where some of them live in that area, beat cops to get familiar with the residents instead of looking at them like them against us. Another thing I want to commend Martin as saying it needs to go on T-shirts, billboards, everywhere I could see. If you don't comply, you could die. And also what the pastor said, as far as life is like baseball, you only win when you make it home. And that goes for everybody from the police to our younger adults, our young kids. But also on the other hand, we can't keep allowing these officers to say they fear for their life, but you, in the name of doing your job, you pulling people over unnecessarily. If you scared and you want to go home and you see somebody with a tail light on, it ain't like it's brake lights out and somebody might hit them. One tail light off, you're not afraid, especially when you get aggressive afterwards. If you pull somebody over and was pulling a coattail, that's a horse of a different color. But when they're using tactics like license plate lights and seat belts, especially as tactical officers, you're not afraid, especially when you allow the situation to escalate. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to the next caller, 5625.
Hey, Martin.
Hey, how you doing?
So I'm going to say this. Education. We always heard education, knowledge. No. Education as us Black people is going to take us to the next level. Here's the thing. We got to educate our young Black people about their rights. Education, it stops everything. And Martin, I'm going to tell you, my son, 29 years old, driving a Lincoln SKH, I don't care. I don't know what it is, dropping his baby off. The police pulled him over for a back tail light. But when they run your plate, it shows you a concealed carry. You gotta know your rights. The policeman asked him, immediately they already knew he was concealed carry. The gun was in his holster, all that, in his holster. But when I tell you they locked him up, sent him to the county, impounded his car, but you know what it was? He didn't know his wife. The question was, he should have said, my lawyer told me after the second lawyer I got. She said, I pulled their camcorder. I wanted to know what probable cause that they had to search his car when he has his driver's license, life insurance, car insurance. And he's saying, I'm dropping my daughter off on 35th and Lake Park for my visitation. That one cop said, I promise you, you got a background. You got a background. When I tell you they impounded, so they impounded his car. But if he would have known his wife, They pulled him over for a back tail light. That's all they had to write him a ticket for. To search the car, to do all that.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Did he have his firearm card on him? Concealed carry card on him?
Yes, he did.
You had it on him?
Yes, he did.
Okay, now.
Yes, he did.
Okay, let me just explain something to you. A lot of people, let me explain this, how this works. This is a little law. Now, if you're a conceal and carry, and if you got your gun laying on the seat visible, that's not concealed. If you got it in your lap, that's not concealed. Period. So somebody put your phone on mute in your background. So that's not sealed. See, we have to know, like you said, you know the law. No, I'm just saying. I'm just telling you. When it said conceal and carry, it can't be visible. When an officer walk up to you, to a car, even though you're concealed and carry, you can't have your gun laying on a seat or visible. It's supposed to be concealed. If there are rules, I'll tell you that. Somebody need to turn it, put your phone on mute in the background or something. Is that your house, ma'am?
Mine?
Hold on, ma'am. Is that your house?
No, that ain't me. That ain't me.
Somebody need to put their phone on mute.
That ain't me.
Somebody need to put their phone on mute. Okay, let me just say this too. A lot of conceal and carry people don't know if you're riding in the car with a felon. Okay, when you ride in the car with a felon, your gun has to be on the opposite side of that felon.
Glass apartment.
No, hold on, what I'm saying. But it had to be locked. You have to be, if you conceal and carry, you have to be on the opposite side of that felon that's riding in the car with you. A lot of people don't know the rules. If you're a FOID card carrier, you got to have, the clip has to be empty, the chamber. You have to put it inside, lock it up in the glove compartment and put the clip in the back. Also, if you're conceal and carry, you cannot have one in the chamber. That's another thing. People don't know the rules. They think because they're conceal and carrier that I can do you. If you got a bullet inside your chamber, they can arrest you and take you to jail. A lot of people, would you being a conceal and carrier? A lot of people don't know these things. I don't know what your son's case was. I don't know what his case was. No. I'm talking now. I'm just saying. These are the things people don't know. And I have to explain to them. Even if you live in a house with a felon, you got to have a lockbox for that gun with fingerprint or key or something. So it's different rules we don't know. Like you said, we have to be educated on how to carry our firearms, what's the proper way to do it, all of that. Then I'm gonna just say another thing on the police behalf. When the police run your license plate and they see that you're a conceal and carrier, they get out. They ask you for your license, but not all the time. Sometimes you might be driving your mom's car and then run up, and they see a different person. So that car can still be in that weapon can still be in that car, and they can take you and the weapon and the car to jail, even though it's legal. But I'm just saying, hold on, ma'am. I'm not here to debate with you. I'm here to tell you what the law says.
I'm not debating.
I always
they have no
listen.
reason to search your car because you could still the carry. What reason did you pull me over?
Well, that's true. It depends on property. That's true. Did he win his case? Did he get his car back?
Absolutely.
Did he get his gun back? Did he get his gun back?
Yes, he got his gun back. He got the $3,000 back that they
won his case.
His car for. Yeah.
He won his case.
Yeah, but you know what? It cost $10,000 for that lawyer.
Yeah.
And all she asked was to see the camcorder on the police to the reason what was their protocol to search his car when he had license and insurance and y'all pulled him over for a back tail light. He didn't know his rights.
Okay.
All I'm saying, know your rights. Just because you conceal to carry does not mean they have the right to search your car, see where your gun at. What reason did you pull me over? For a tail light, write me a ticket. I didn't know that either, Martin. I didn't know that either. And he didn't either. He, you know what it is? When they came up, when they were in the place, they already knew he was considered to carry. They asked, "Can we search your car?" He like, "Yeah, everything's legit."
Well, hold on. That's proper cause right there. Then, if he said yeah, they got proper cause to go in there. He gave them consent to go in the car. That's on him. He could immediately say, "Hey, I do not consent." No. I'm going by what you just said. If they asked him that he could search a car, and he said, "Yeah," he gave them permission to search a car.
Not knowing his right.
Right, but I'm just saying he gave them permission. So that's why they got him, because he gave them permission.
So listen, I understand what you said. That's why they got him. Not knowing that you only pulled me over on 35th.
We're not talking about that. We're not talking about. We're talking about why did they go search his car? He gave them permission to search his car. That's why he went to jail that day, because which he shouldn't. He shouldn't have gave them permission.
Know your right.
I know. I'm telling you what
he didn't know his right.
Well, he didn't know it. He didn't know it.
I know what you're saying, but he didn't know his right.
Right.
You gotta know your right. They had no reason to ask when they pulled him over.
Well, he volunteered for a search. He said it's okay.
Martin,
I'm just telling you. Listen, people, listen. You're not listening to me, ma'am. You're not. You know you're not. You always give me a hard time, but I'm done talking about this. I'm gonna go to the next caller. Yeah, I'm going to the next caller. Yeah, go ahead, Mark. Yeah, because I don't like when you talk. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, bro.
What I wanted to say was the police will pull you over to meet a quota too.
Yeah.
You don't have to be doing nothing. They have a quota to meet, and people forgot about that. That's what I want to mention.
So, good, Marcus. I'm telling y'all, law. A lot of you guys conceal and carry. You don't know these things. They always revising things, revising. So I'm telling you, he gave the officer permission to search his car. You know, you can't consent that I'm not consenting to no search. Period. You can do that. That's the law. You can do that. So it cost him some money, because he didn't know. He wasn't educated. So it can happen to anyone. When you see a lot of these people think that they can use a gun and do anything because you got to know what you can't and cannot do. It's tricky in a lot of cases. And I'm guarantee you, a lot of you guys did not know if you ride in the car with a felon, you cannot have your gun on the same side as a felon. It has to be on the opposite side. You cannot ride around with one in the chamber if you conceal and carry. You will be arrested. You can't do it, people. You have to think. Just like weed. You're not supposed to ride with weed in the front of the car. It's supposed to be in the back. I know a lot of us do it. The smoke weed and stuff like that. But we just don't know. Like I said, the officers say he smell weed, and you say, ain't weed legal? Boom, he got you. He got you. Keep your mouth closed. He smell it. I don't smell anything. I'm not telling you a lie. I don't smell it. And a lot of times you can smell weed without somebody smoking it because it's so strong and potent. You can smell it. That don't mean necessarily a person is smoking it because you can smell it. But we got another caller. 3945. Go ahead. Just gave y'all a little education. That's all. How I know yeah, go ahead.
Has joined.
Yes, sir, Brother Martin. I mean, this is educational, and we supposed to know. You know, we got to take a little time out. You know, like they say on the TV, take a little time out and enjoy the view. We got to take a little time out and read. You know, we sit down enough to sit down and we read the paper. Sometimes we got to read these rules of the road. You know, and we have to know. Now, somebody said something about somebody having the tail light out. Can't have no tail light out. You can't have no license plate light out. You have to cover yourself, and you have to give them. You can't give them a reason. You can't have a license plate cover on your car. You're giving them reasons to stop you. They will pull you over. The state law has stated that you cannot have a cover on your license plate any longer. Can't do it. But you want your car to look. You say, I got this dope ride. I wanted to look. Hey man, I wanted to look tough. I wanted to look right. They say they pull you over. Say, what you pull me over for? Well, you got a license plate cover on your car. So now they can go into any direction that you give that you allow them to, but you still at that point have to be smart. You know, we cannot run around and look at and say, well, you know, can you articulate this? I mean, you're right, but see, but now you're talking to them. That's the last thing you need to do is talk to a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't say nothing to the officer. When they ask you where you coming from, you don't say nothing. You know, now you think that you're doing them a favor by saying I'm coming from John's house. Well, okay, you don't say you're coming from John's house. You have to stick to your guns and know what the rule is. If you come in, and then when you do talk to them, you don't give them but one word answers. That's all you do. You don't get into a conversation with the police. We have to know these things. If your headlight is out, you got to go to AutoZone and get that headlight fixed right away. You got to do it. See, but you know, but we sit around and we do stuff and we give the police, and when they want to search your car, you don't get into a sentence question. They say, we want to search your car. You just say one word. You say no. You don't say nothing else. That's all you say. Now you say, well, that don't sound right. That's going to work. Okay. All right. But the more you say, look, my daughter got into an accident. And I told her when she went to court, I said, this is what you say when you go up there to the judge. Man, she got up there and turned and said every which thing but loose. Well, you know, it was raining, you know, and I was going through, I just could not believe it. I was shocked. I told her what to say. I told her, this is what you say. You give, and they got up there and said all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And got into a cause, right. But she got up there and said all kinds of stuff. So the light was yellow, and I started to make my turn, and it was raining out there and stuff, and you know, and all of that. But I'm saying this is where you go wrong at. You must know more than Michael Jordan making the jump shot.
Okay.
That ain't gonna help you. I'm just trying to tell you, Martin.
Right.
I mean, we cannot continue, brother. Why don't you put on there that Booker T. Washington got a statue down there? The veil of ignorance has been lifted. Mm. We have to educate ourselves, man, on all things pertaining to what we're going to be doing from day to day. This woman said, son told her that he was going for a ride. And the police shot in his car 96 times. Now, she said that he was going for a ride, and he never came back home. You see, but the boy was right. He rolled the window down. He rolled it back up. He didn't have to. He don't have to have his window all the way down. He stopped the window. He was right within that part. But all that intimidation and all the stuff that was happening at that time, I believe that the young boy probably panicked. You know, you got all that action going on, but you have to know these rules of the law. If your turn signal is not working. And let me tell you another thing we do. Now, and I'm done. You know, you're supposed to come to a complete stop when you come to a stop sign and you're going to make your right turn. Now, we ain't doing that. We patting the pedal and making it right. See, and the police since they're not really operating in that vein no more, we think it's okay. But you really need to follow the rules of the road because, you know, you're opening yourself up at that time. You taking a 3-second stop and turning it to $150 fine that you got to pay. Mm-hmm. 3 seconds. We don't want it.
You also supposed to stop behind that white line.
Yeah.
Stop behind that white line.
Guys, I got to take a break real quick. I got a sponsor tonight. Tonight's podcast is sponsored by Legal Health Firm. If you are injured in a car or truck accident, a victim of a police misconduct or shooting, nursing home neglect, birth injury, call the personal injury and civil rights attorney at Legal Health Firm. Telephone number 312-600-8559. Again, 312-600-8559. Also, you can give them a visit on Facebook. And these are the lawyers that I personally use and trust. And that's in Real Talk. Thank you guys so much. Go ahead, old timer.
Yeah, you have to familiarize yourself with Illinois law. Illinois law, man, they change right off the bat. They change it. Say at this time, I was at the gas station. I'm just hoping this might help somebody. So a man came running up to me. He said, "Don't use your card. Don't use your card." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Every time you use your card at the gas station, $150 stop is put on your card right then and there. Until 2 days afterwards, then they release it and they go back to why they like nothing." And I'm using my card all the time, and you know how to use it? Because I don't want to go in the store and stand in the line. While somebody buying this and buying that, so I just pull up. But every time you use your credit card, they put $150 stop immediately on your card right there. And you don't know it, but if you ain't got no money in the bank and you try to go use your card, you're going to say, "What's on my card?" They could say, "Well, they got that $150 stop on it." So he told me, "Don't go in there. Don't go in." He said, "Don't use your card." But I ain't gonna say I have to worry about it. But I don't have to worry about it because I'm gonna have more than that in there. But I'm just stating.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got to stay on the subject now.
Yes,
old timer, let me go to the next caller. All right.
Know the rules of the road.
All right.
Know the rules of the road. Know your rights. Thank you.
Thank you. 1652, last 4 digits. We're going to go back to Dr. Robinson after this. 1652. Go ahead, caller.
Good evening, community. Good evening. What should we do when we stop by the police? Before I answer that, let me say ignorance of the law is not an affirmative defense in court. It is imperative upon us, citizens, to know the law. We have to know it. Because you don't know the law, you can't get in court and get to stand and say, "Well, I didn't know." That is not a defense. It won't hold up in court. So you have to know that you're supposed to wear your seatbelt. You're supposed to know that you have to use your turn signal. You're supposed to know that you have to stop behind make a complete stop and stop behind the white line and not stop in the crosswalk. You're supposed to know all of this stuff. If not, ignorance of the law is not a defense. What should we do when the police pull us over? Number one, remain calm. Remain calm. It's hard, but remain calm. When we're riding around, no one wants to go to jail. No motorist wants to go to jail. I know we want to make it home, but these young people got in their mind they're not going to jail. So before you get in your car, hopefully it's not a stolen or hot car because you know you're going to jail. Have your license and insurance. You have to be right. We want the police to be right, but we motorists have to be right first, or else it can turn into a citation, or else it can turn into a jailable offense. It can go from a traffic stop to a criminal allegation or criminal citation in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, because if he's pulling you over because you didn't signal, you failed to signal for change of lane, he pulls you over. That's a traffic stop. If you produce your driver's license and your insurance, then it's a simple traffic stop. If he comes and you don't have your license, you don't have insurance, now it's more than a traffic stop because the law gives them the ability now to take you out of the car and to search the car and to search your person as a protective pat down. Now the law gives them a chance to go further. Now there is an investigatory stop. So they have a lot of leeway. But I had my license, but I didn't have insurance. Or I have insurance, but I don't have a license. If you're missing one of those two elements, they can take you out of that car. They can ask you to get out of the car. And if you don't comply, you're going to get the charge of resisting arrest. And that's one of the charges that's most difficult for any lawyer to beat. Because all the officer has to do is swear on the oath that you did not comply. That's it. That's it. They tack on that resisting arrest. And that's a charge. You can get everything else thrown out. That charge, they may want that little class 4 felony on. And sometimes they're written up as a misdemeanor. But we have to make sure that we are right as motorists. Let's remain calm. Because the person who has everything right, we're going to remain calm. We got our driver's license. It's frustrating getting pulled over by the police, fellas, the community. It's frustrating. It's stressful. You don't want the inconvenience. Why is he pulling me over now? Go chasing criminals. Go do this. Leave me alone. It's frustrating. But you can get out of that situation in 5 minutes, mostly if you cooperate. And if you are legit, you have license and insurance. The other caller, the female caller before us, she said, she explained about her son. Her son beat the case in court. That's how you beat the police. You beat them in court. Now, he didn't know his rights, according to her, when she was telling the story, because she gave him consent to search the car. But ignorance is not a defense. It doesn't hold up. It doesn't hold up. If you tell the police they can search your car, now you've given them a right. Now they have a right to do it because you've given them that right to do it. Simple as that. But ignorance of the law is not a defense. It's not. You can't present that in court. The other thing is, I was pulled over. Police officer pulled me over. I'm not worried because I got license and insurance, and I'm hoping this lasts for 5 minutes. Give the man the license and insurance. Of course, they're always at whose car is this? I don't answer anything because I don't have to. Run it. The first thing I ask the officer, and maybe this can help someone else under the sound of my voice, the community, and your listeners. I asked the officer, is your body cam working? Is it turned on? Because after I gave him my driver's license and my insurance, he wasn't satisfied with me being legit. So I said, fine. At this point, he's going to escalate this situation. I'm going to remain calm. So I said, you and your partner, body cameras rolling. Yes, they're rolling. I've asked that 10 times. He goes back to the car. He runs it. He sees that the driver's license is valid. He also sees that the car is not stolen. So he comes back to the car because what he wants to do is use this pretextual stop and prolong the stop, which is illegal. You can't hold a stop past a reasonable time, usually 10 minutes. The case law gives him 10 minutes. So he comes and he said, well, I need the VIN. Now I'm saying to myself, he don't need no VIN to write a speeding ticket because he already knows that the vehicle is not stolen. They usually will run a VIN if they suspect or know that it's stolen. He knew it wasn't hot because there was a plate on the vehicle. Everything was valid. Nothing was expired. So I said, to make a long story short, I stayed on the side of that road over an hour. I stayed calm. It was summertime. It's hot. They called the K9 officers out, the K9 unit out for no reason, because he never articulated that he smelled burnt marijuana or anything. Never observed alcohol in the vehicle. None of that was there. Searched the vehicle over 3 or 4 times. Fruitless, meaning they found nothing. I'm staying calm. Got me in handcuffs in the back of the police car. I'm staying calm. They're about to settle for $300,000 for me being on the road for an hour. So you get $300,000 for your rights being violating, and it costs you an inconvenience of an hour. Young people, old people, middle-aged people, remain calm, especially if you're legit. If you're not legit and they're just pulling you over for a traffic violation and you have that driver's license and you have that insurance, they can't search your vehicle unless you give them permission, or they can't ask you out of the car. But if they do, the law says you still have to comply when they're wrong. You beat them in court. You get the case beaten. You get evidence thrown out. So if they find illegal drugs, or if they find a gun on you, you get that squashed. You get that taken care of in the preliminary hearing. It's because they violated your rights. But you're going to show the police how much you know, and you're going to start a confrontation. And the law gives them they're the authority in the streets. You're not the authority. You're civilians. You're not the authority. So yes, we can hold them to a higher standard, but you got to go through the process. Let them do what they're going to do. Stay compliant. Keep your hands where they can see it. Because if you go through all of that and they violated your rights, and you hire you a civil rights lawyer who would take the case because there's enough information there to hold them accountable, then you can reap the benefits and the protection that the law affords you on the civil side. But you standing out there, I'm getting ready to take off, I'm getting ready to speed away. I'm getting ready to, the officer's pulling on the door. You pulling back and you decide to put this car in drive. Now you dragging the officer. Now he has a right to unhook and shoot you because now you're dragging him. His life is in danger. Man, you let those rogue, wrong police officers do what they're going to do. Swallow your pride. Then you hire your civil rights lawyer and you beat them in court. You beat them in court. Stay calm. But first, let us be right. Get your driver's license, young man. Get your driver's license. If you're going to afford a car, afford insurance or don't drive it. You're not ready yet. Make sure you have all your T's dotted and all your I's, all your T's crossed and all your I's dotted. But even when you are right, when you have everything, you're still going to have some rogue officers. Yes, that is true. But you beat them in court. You beat the case. And now if you beat the case because they didn't have any probable cause, it violates your right. You're on the side of the road longer than case law says you should be there. Then they have to pay, and they're going to settle that. And they're going to settle it pretty quickly. Please stay calm. Have everything in order. That's how you respond in a situation when police are pulling you over. Because people who are legitimate, yeah, they're frustrated because they've been pulled over, but they're not escalating the situation. They're not to the point where this officer is, I'm going to do something to endanger myself and officer. Nobody likes to be pulled over. Man, it's stressful. Then you know they're profiling you. And for these communities that we live in that has high crime, the citizens are the reason that the police are there. What do you mean by that? I mean the citizens are complaining to their aldermen. Why don't you do something about the crime? The homeowners, the rent payers. Why don't you do something about the crime? Do something about the carjack. So they complain to their aldermen. They complain to the mayor. The mayor complains to his superintendent. The superintendent gets on his sergeant and his commanders and say, listen, the residents are fed up. The good people in these communities are fed up. Get these criminals. Get these guns off the street. That's why they are so aggressive, because our own grandmothers and aunts and uncles and grandfathers and mothers and fathers who are productive members of the community, they're sick and tired of being victimized by people who look like them. So they complain. So the police are aggressive. They got a mission to take guns off the street because we get killed every day. We get killed every day. We have a shooting every single day. So they're responding to our cries. They're responding to our pain. So they're trying to protect and serve. They have a stressful job, and we're under stress when we're racially profiled. But my brother, my sister, stay calm in that situation. And ignorance is not a defense in court. And if the officer is wrong, just know you can get him and win and beat him in a court of law. Thank you very much, Brother Martin.
Thank you so much for those words of encouragement and words of wisdom and the words of the law, not a court of public opinion. Okay, caller 3268. You're live, uncut, unedited, and we're going to Dr. Robinson after we leave here. Come on, caller.
What's going on, Martin?
How you doing, Mr. Roosevelt?
Hey, I'm doing great. But Martin, I had I wish maybe Dr. Robinson or somebody who could get on or whatever can still answer the question for me.
What question?
Because
sometimes hold on.
I get a little bit confused.
You know what we're talking about? We're talking about what should you do if the police pull you over. But what is your question? Go ahead.
Well, first of all, let me answer that question since that's what the show is all about anyway. I think of something like the gentleman said, even though we know our rights or something, it's just to remain maybe as calm as, you possibly can, be at that particular moment. And, just like know your laws and everything like that. And I'm trying to be as cooperative as you can be. That's all you can do with, with these people and everything out here. That's the problem. But the question I had more or less, or whatever, is something, like I said, I've been wondering for a long time. Why is it that even, like I said, a whole lot of cops, we know that when they pull people over, maybe they're trying to do their jobs or whatever. But at the same time, like you say, you still have rogue police officers. Why is it that sometimes if you have anyone of any other kind of profession who behaves badly, the public, everybody is willing to call that out. But whenever it's an officer, I feel like people are like cowering down and not saying anything. And, they'd be like, well, there's rogue officers, but, you know what I think about the word but.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's just the way it is.
Well,
but like in some people, they just act like, like.
Let me cut you off right quick.
A bad day, it's okay.
Let me cut you off, Mr. Roosevelt. If you have listened to the gentleman just before you, how you beat the cops is in court, not on the street. Not on the street, because you're not going to win.
Yeah, but how long does those court cases take? Like you said, how much is it going to cost you for a lawyer?
Listen, Roosevelt. You asked a question, I'm giving you the answer. You beat them in court. Now, you can't complain about the cops, and if you're not doing anything about it, or if it take a year. You even earlier, Sharice said that, Martin, you have to get them in court. That's what you have to do, because you're not going to win. You're not going to win in the street. You can't hold court in the street. Not the citizen could anyway. So you have to make complaints, Roosevelt. You got to go to COPA, Illinois State.org, I think she said. You have to complain. You just can't complain. Come on here and complain and don't do anything about it. If it's not on paper, it didn't happen. Documentation beats conversation.
About my case, say nothing happened.
Well, sometimes it works like that. Enough complaints, eventually they'll probably get around to it. I'll say that. So I don't know how their system works, but they have a history of each officer, how many complaints was filed against him or her. The brother just told you before you came on here, before I called you, he said, hey, he had to wait a whole hour in handcuffs and back in the police car. Now it's going to cost him $300.
What kind of sense?
Yeah, listen, $300,000. I've been handcuffed for $300,000 for an hour. No, wait, wouldn't you take
what happened to the cop who caused the problem?
Regardless. Go chime in, doctor, please.
Roosevelt, can I chime in?
Go ahead. No, you can chime in.
Dr. Z, you all know me as Dr. Davis. That's not Roosevelt. That's not what Roosevelt asking. I heard him last night say that, in other words, what he asking is, why do people bow down to police officers?
Listen,
and Roosevelt,
I just hold on. First of all, I just said, doctor, you cannot win in the street. You have to fight. You have to beat the police by complaints and filing police complaints and lawsuits. That's how you beat them. Police can cuss you out. They're not supposed to cuss you out.
How to beat them?
Yeah, but they do it.
We're not asking to beat them.
But listen, this is what I'm saying is.
We're not Mr. Johnson.
Let me just say this. I'll let you talk. I'll be quiet after this. When a police cuss you out, which he shouldn't be doing anyway. All right, now you go ahead and cuss him back out. You go and cuss him back out. Then now things finna escalate. It's finna escalate. It's going to escalate. That's all what it's going to do. Now, that's your First Amendment right. You can cuss the police out. You can't threaten them. You can't tell them I'll kill you. You can't do that.
No, you can't do that.
You can't do that. But I understand what he's saying. I'm making this podcast tonight to instruct young people. Young people. This man is 50 years old. If he have not learned how to engage with the police, shame on him. But I'm trying to reach the young people and tell them, you can't pull this and you think it's sweet, you're going to get away with it. We just had an incident where we complain who shot first or what. Some people say he didn't shoot first, the police shot first. Regardless, you're not going to point no gun at the Chicago police officers or shoot at them and expecting something good to come out of it. But go ahead, Dr. D. I'm going to sit down. Like you say, I'm going to go on mute. Go ahead, Dr. Davis. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Davis. Go ahead. I'm not mad at you. I promise you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What Roosevelt is asking is, why do people bow down to police? And the reason why they bow down to police, Roosevelt, is because we're all of us are intimidated by them. Period. They want to feel superior over us. and we inferior to them. That's been since the day there was a police officer in America, in the world, period. And that's why. And
I mean, but people excuse a lot of bad behavior of police.
But they do, and they still feel inferior
right.
about
I think
it.
that's right.
And it's not right. It's whether it's right or wrong.
You know, you're a doctor. And, you know, the first thing that they would say about you, if you were like in the doctor's office or whatever, in your office or something, cussing and all of that kind of stuff, the first thing that they would say, you'd have a red mark on you, or she's unprofessional. The first thing that they would say about me, if I was at a crime setting or wedding, and I got upset, even if I had a bad day and would start cussing, oh, we ain't gonna hire him no more. He's unprofessional. But it seems like police officers, they do this kind of stuff, and everybody's like, well, they might have cussed, but oh well, and you know,
once
they
again, they feel
it's something that's okay. I don't understand why.
Yeah, it's not okay, but it's inferior. Dr. Robinson, are you still on?
Yeah, she's still here. Yeah, she's still. Go ahead, Dr. Robinson.
Yeah, I'm
Dr.
here.
Robinson, can you chime in on this for me, please?
I sure can. Just listening to some of the conversation, and wanted to lift up what Dr. Davis is saying. You know, I honestly feel this is the hardest questions that Americans have to face right now. I mean, we teach our children this from generation to generation. One reason is because the answer truly is different for many people. It's different between rich people, poor people, black people, white people, young, old, rural, metropolitan, Republican, Democrat. Before you step out the car, the officer has run your plate. He knows what category you fit in. He knows what constitutional boundaries that he has to prove in order to defend his case in court. So you're saying, let's take it to court. Sometimes the individuals who are driving the car don't stand a chance in court because that officer has already pegged who they are. They already know from that license plate what type of situation, you know, if it's worth them pulling them over. Sometimes they might bypass them because the paperwork might not be worth it. Whereas you, like I mentioned before, you might have somebody
who bypass a whole lot of small things if I was officer.
Roosevelt, let her talk.
Right, but you know,
go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, some officers will pursue you because they know you on papers, they know you're on parole, they done pulled you over before, they done told you before you're a nuisance to the community, or even if you are an upstanding doctor, attorney, a Republican, or whatever in your community, it's still a matter of, you know, just understanding what your rights are and understanding, the police officer, he has rights as well, and it's a matter of safety on both sides. So, when we're talking about traffic stops, they have to have investigative procedures that they have to follow. They have to prove some predicate for constitutional compliance. They just can't be pulling you over. And, it happens all the time. But if it happens and they let you go, it's just to be a nuisance to you. Or it could be something a little bit more serious. But that brings its own set of factual predicates that must be presented, as well as limits on the scope of what that search and seizure action is all about, whether it's a pat down, whether it's, them looking at you because you are concealing a weapon and you didn't announce it or you don't have your card. There are a lot of reasons. And from a legal standpoint, you have to be able to be, Roosevelt made it clear, and also our host made it clear, you have to have your stuff in order. You have to have your paperwork in order.
That's right.
You got to make sure you have your license, have your gun card, have, those things that you have to prove before you talk about you got to fight them in court. If you got all that stuff and it's all shabby and this is that and that and this and you on parole and you're trying to go to court, you gonna lose. So, in a sense, those are probably the types of individuals who the police kind of look for so they can continue to make their job and their quotas seem impactful to not only to the community, but impactful to the culture of the Chicago Police Department themselves. That's why you have
And
individuals
numbers.
talking about
Statistics.
defunding the police, and you have all these riots and all these individuals rising up against the police because of the situations you're talking about. But trust me, that officer already knows what they're dealing with before they even pull that car over. So the best thing we can do is educate our children. Educate our children. They don't teach these things in the public schools. It's up to the family and or a community that pulls together to kind of teach these tools and this information, and these, it's like a rite of passage, like I mentioned, to make sure that they understand. It's, you know, it's always going to be a us against them until you need the police. When somebody's jumping on you or robbing you, oh, please help me, and they do. But when they're pulling you over, it's a different story. So as long as you have your stuff together, as long as you understand the laws and the rules, and you kind of know already before they pull you over, they know who they're dealing with. It ain't no strange situation. You got a plate, they know. And just as long as you go into that situation knowing that you're doing the right thing and you haven't done nothing wrong, and you stay true to that, you'll probably leave without a problem. But it's those individuals who, you know, are doing those things that they shouldn't be doing, including driving without a license or driving while high or intoxicated or driving without a permit for or concealed carry license for their firearm. It's those individuals who usually run into situations where they have to be overly concerned about being pulled over.
Thank you. Brother Martin.
I agree. Now, I have a question, Bill, before you go.
That's not Bill.
Dr. Robinson, old timer?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on. I just have one question for Dr. Robinson. Is your husband available? Is he willing to speak? Because he's a mental health therapist.
Right. I asked him, and he said he'll come on the next go round.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you.
Okay, old timer, make it quick because I got the last call on live. Go ahead, old timer.
See, well, now that last caller, I thought the brother articulated pretty much well what we should do. Now, then somebody say, well, they don't teach you this in the public school system. These laws are spoken to you on the news. When you look at the news, they say, these are the new laws that's going to start effectively March 1st, 2024. If you do not pay attention to them, that is your fault.
Well, a lot of people don't watch the news. Right, they don't watch the news. A lot of adults don't watch the news.
Don't watch it.
That's right.
Yeah, a lot of people do not watch the news.
Okay, all right then, okay.
A lot of people do not watch the news.
I think our aldermen
and the news shouldn't be looked at as being depressing, by the way. It should be looked at as being informative, not depressing. But a lot of people do not watch the news, period.
So you, man.
Well, listen.
But the gentleman said that
ignorance
is not a defense.
Right. That's right.
Not knowing that it's not a defense.
That's it.
That's 100%.
That's
true.
it. That's
if you
it.
step in front of a court of law, a judge or a jury, and you tell them they don't know and they put it out there, it might not be put on a billboard in your neighborhood or in the school system, but it's on you to know what the new changes are, especially if you don't watch the news. Well, yeah, that's true. Now, look, I have talked to mayors of cities. I'm telling you, I'm not just throwing no hooey here. When they stop your car, they know that you're a kidney donor. They know that you conceal carry. They know everything about you. Nice plate. All that stuff is updated from the DMV.
Oh.
And not only that,
you already said that.
Oh, okay. Old timer. Because
yes,
hold on, because they read the license plate, got all that information. That don't mean the driver might be his brother or cousin or son. So that don't mean necessarily that's the person that's in the car when they read the license plate. I want you guys to look at it from a law enforcement standpoint of view, because the license plate say, hey, this is a senator so and so. Now he gets to the car, it's the junior of the senator, or his niece driving his car. So they
Okay.
I just want to throw that out. I understand what you're saying, but I need to go to this next caller, man.
Right, but that's just like saying that they have probable cause to pull that car over if they don't think it's the person whose name is on that plate. That's one of the reasons why they could pull them over too. It's not to say that it's justified.
No.
It's just to say that going along the premise that you're presenting, you're right. It's not always the right person, but it can bring about probable cause.
But this is how simple this is. Okay, I'm taking my child back to school. Okay, my car is not big enough to carry the stuff, so I use my brother's truck to go and take my child to school. Of course, it's not my car. Now, I understand all of that. But we can't sit up here on this phone tonight and make it seem as if the police is just pulling people over for no reason.
They do that. They profile. They do.
They do.
Old timer. They do that, brother. They do that. Trust me. You got
quoted all the time.
I'm trying. You say
They have it quoted to me.
okay, Martin. You say tell the truth, shame the devil, right?
tell the truth, shame the devil.
Tell the truth.
I jumped into the left-hand lane. I jumped into the left-hand lane, and honestly, I'm trying to go and get where I'm going real fast. The police pulled me over. You know what I told them? I said, well, I was trying to get back over in the right-hand lane. That's what I told them. You see, but I know I was speeding, but we can't sit up here and make it seem like that. And when I went to court one time, they told me if you're going 1 mile over the speed limit, the police can stop you.
That's
I mean, if we don't want to do right, we ain't gonna want to do it. Now I'm just telling you.
Okay, old timer. You don't live in these high crime areas. Let me just tell you. Let me educate you a little bit. Listen, the brother just came on here articulately said it. Listen, cops pull people over. You have to make sure that you're right. Sometimes they pull you over in these areas because of our mothers and the people complaining. And it goes from the mayor down to the superintendent, then to the commanders, now to the sergeant. Listen, they going to pull you over. You don't have to do anything. You could be in a high crime area, and they just know that's what they do. Old timer, we got cameras. Look at the incident that happened on the west side. They had no really business in pulling that young man over.
Right.
He was profiled.
Right. Because they pulled me over.
Right. So that's all I'm saying, old timer.
Old timer. True. Old timer. Let me say this to you. I'm gonna give you a quick story. It's gonna take me 3 seconds. I was driving my daughter's father's truck. He had a 2005 Tahoe. It's tinted windows. I had on a hoodie, right? And I usually don't dress like that. And the police pulled me right on over. Instantly, I was on 79th and Jeffrey. And they pulled me over. I rolled down my window. I said, yes, officer. They said, we want to see who was in the back. It was my daughter in the back. They said, have a good day, ma'am. They pulled me over for no reason. The license plate was fine. We had insurance. Hold on.
Roosevelt, hold it, Roosevelt.
Sir. That license plate was not in my name. That was not in my name. They didn't know who I was, and I had on a hoodie because it was so cold that day. And I was driving his Tahoe. It's a really nice Tahoe, by the way. It drives real smooth to be so old. And they don't know my name. They ran the license plate. That's in my daughter's father's name. He is not a doctor, first of all. And the white man, he was a white man. There's 3 cops in the car. One got out on the passenger side. On the passenger side, he had his gun, but he did not pull it at us, but he had it pulled to the bottom, had it down on the ground, and the cop like, oh, we want to see who was in the back of the car. I'm like, in the back seat behind me is my daughter. I let the window down. She said, ma'am, have a good day. They pull you over for no reason. They didn't ask me for no license. They didn't ask me for no insurance or nothing. All because I had on that hoodie, and they couldn't even tell if I was a female male because, number one, the windows was tinted. And I never drove that truck again.
Last caller. I got the last caller.
I have a Lincoln.
Hold on. Last caller, people. I got to get this 8749. Come on, caller. What's your comments, a concern, or question?
Martin, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Martin. This is Dwayne. I just wanted to answer Miss Helen's question from earlier about could police ask you out the car?
Okay.
Yeah. So there is a case law, and the case law name is Pennsylvania v. Mills. It is a Supreme Court case law. So the ruling on that,
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
So the ruling on that case law is the Supreme Court has ruled that any police officer in the 50 states of the United States can ask you, can tell you to step out the car under any circumstances.
Repeat that law again, sir.
It's called Pennsylvania versus Mills. It's a 1977 case law. It was ruled by the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Thank you, because I wasn't sure. I didn't know, if they could. So thank you for that information.
Yes, no problem. No problem. And also, what a lot of people don't know is, under that case law, if you refuse to step out the car when the police ask you to, you can be charged with, I think it's I'm trying to think of the name. Obstruction.
Okay, we're learning. See, people, we're learning.
Okay, I just posted in the link.
Okay.
Yeah, it was seized in violation of the Fourth Amendment. So I just posted the link in the chat box so you guys can see it. It's called Terry versus Ohio. He is right. He is 100% right. I just looked it up. So I just posted the link for Helen and everyone else to review it. He is right. It's Pennsylvania. They show all the information. I just posted it. So you all can go to the chat box and review it.
Okay. I want to hear from Dr. Robinson, and I'm going to close out. Dr. Robinson, I'm going to let you close this out after with Dr. Davis.
Thank you.
I think I kind of mentioned it. I was making.
Okay. Dr. Robinson, hold on. Go ahead. Hurry up.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Helen. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a second. I just want to put this information out there. In January of this year, 2024, Representative Justin Slaughter introduced a bill, and this bill would state that police could not pull a car over for a seatbelt. This is for traffic, for a seatbelt violation, for tents, a distorted or a covered license plate, broken side view mirrors, loud exhaust, and something else. That bill was introduced in January by Representative Justin Slaughter.
Is it passed yet? Is it passed?
I remember speaking.
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's the way it should be. Because I just pulled that up too.
Okay.
So I just put that in the chat too, you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Helen. That's it, Helen?
I just put that link in the chat too.
Old Timer. I'm not. Old Timer.
I just want to say one small.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I was at least about 5 blocks that I know of in front of a car that I didn't even know was behind me. And it was 11:30 at night. So I moved over into the other lane because I was close to home.
Oh, Lord.
All of a sudden, a car came from out of nowhere and shot up behind me. I said, that must be the police. So he pulled me over. And when he pulled me over, I said, what did you pull me over for? He said, you didn't signal to get over to the next lane. Me not really thinking, I said, that's what you stopped me for? I said, man, you got to be kidding. Now, I said that, but there was a black officer, so he let me say those words. And then he said, plus, you have a cover on your license plate. I said, well, what's wrong with that? He said, the law states at a certain time that they put a law in that you're not supposed to have a cover over your license plate. I didn't know that. So then he told me, I said, okay, right, but you know what he told me before he let me pull off? He said, I warned you this time. Next time, I'm gonna give you a ticket. Now it's up to me at that point in time to go and take that license plate cover off of there and to start signaling when I get over into the next lane. If I refuse to do it, then I'm giving them a reason to stop me. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Robinson, and after you, we have Dr. Davis close out. Go ahead, your closing comments. And
I think this is marvelous. So much, Dr. Robinson. I really think, you're welcome. I think this is marvelous. it suffices enough to say this is something that we should be doing continually, within the community, within the platform. And I want to thank the host for raising up this topic, because it is something that is very important. But one thing I just want to kind of
hold on, Doc. Hold on, Doc. I need everybody put their phone on mute because I hear some talking. Very rude. Oh, so I'm gonna have to boot you off. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Robinson.
I just don't want us to. I don't want us to get it twisted and think that the police does not have powers when it comes to police powers under the Fourth Amendment. Just like we have Fourth Amendment rights, and I hear you all talking about bills. I hear you about the Supreme Court, but until those things are actually on the books, it's just something that's kind of pending. We still have to keep in mind that officers making traffic stops, they must know which additional investigative procedures that are required. And I talked about those factual predicates. And that goes back to those things that you all were talking about, Pennsylvania and this and that. The predicate for constitutional compliance is what sets specific types of evidence that have to be presented in court if it gets to court. They have to have those things present to justify the procedures they take when they stop you. So, do you get out the car? Don't you? Do you put your hands up? Don't you? There are things that you should know you should do, but the police already know based on the Fourth Amendment and how they can hold that court case and make you liable is knowing what it is that they have to prove once they get to court with you. Although the Fourth Amendment requires that all searches and seizures are done reasonably, sometimes in the case, somebody might have had a prior arrest, like I mentioned. They may be on papers or may not be able to present all the things that they should. We got to do what we have to do to keep our backyard clean and keep our family members and kids and those teenagers who are out there driving, to let them know that that's a big responsibility, particularly when motor vehicles are coming into play. Regardless if it's their vehicle, their mama, their grandmama, their husband, their daddy, regardless, if they, kind of look within the scope of what the police actions are and why they pull from the moment they pull you over, whether it's a search and seizure or a pat down, you're considered a suspect. You have the right to ask, what is it that I'm being stopped for? Just like the man said, but you still have to keep in mind that this is a serious activity. It's not something to take lightly or to feel that you're entitled or why you stop me over. You're not entitled. You have to adhere to what the law is when you're driving, when you get pulled over, when you go to court. You have the burden of proof that you have to prove on your behalf. Just like that police officer, he's got to have a burden of proof and due diligence that he has to have ready when he takes you to court. So a lot of them don't even want to go to court. As long as you're educated, as long as your family is educated, and all those individuals that we mentioned here tonight through this wonderful host, as long as we use those tools of education and within our family circles, within our ethnicities, it helps. It kind of goes through generation to generation until the laws can be balanced and the scales aren't tipped the way they are. We need to just make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do, and our friends and family members are where they should be in accordance to being a driver or being a passenger in a vehicle that's under question.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say. And I do want to thank everyone for chiming in, and I hope I can be a part of your next panel. Like I said, I was born and raised in Chicago, so I know all this and living in Inglewood all those years. Right now, I live in Atlanta. It's no different. If it's a little bit worse, maybe, but it's still the same. No matter where you are, you got to know your rights, and you got to understand that the police know their rights as well.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Anytime. Okay, Dr. Davis, I want you to close this out. Then I'll read the closing comments and stuff like that. Go ahead, Dr. Davis.
Thank you so much. I just really, a lot of people on here, I'm not talking about me want to say, but a lot of people think that I'm not a doctor. And Dr. Robinson hired me. So I am a real doctor. And I just needed some help tonight. So I sat back and I cooled back, and I wanted her and Dr. Anderson to come on. Pastor Dr. Anderson, I have done a lot of work with him with all three of his churches on the west side, where the young man was unfortunately killed by the police officer on the west side. He didn't want to go delve into that too much, and I understand that because he has to protect his community. I just needed help tonight, you guys. So I just sat back and I wanted Dr. Robinson, Dr. Anderson to come on and let them talk. And Dr. Ford couldn't make it, unfortunately, but he said he'll make it next time. You know, I have a wonderful team. I just want to thank Dr. Pastor Anderson. I'll be in church with you on the west side on Sunday. And I know he's gone. He's asleep. And then I know Dr. Robertson, I cannot wait till her husband get on. I appreciate you all. I thank you all so much. I'm very humbled by you all. You know, I just needed this help. I wanted you all to hear a different perspective because some of y'all have a different opinion of me, and I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that, but I needed some help tonight. So thank you so much, Mr. Johnson, for allowing my crew to come on, and I'm going to have more people come on to help me out, and I'll sit down. You see, I didn't hardly say anything tonight.
You couldn't help it, though. You said something. You couldn't help it. Yeah. Okay.
I know, right? I have to say just a little bit.
All right, people.
Dr. Z.
I'm sorry.
Did she say
I'm
something?
sorry. Is that Dr. Robinson
Yes.
talking? I'm not sure.
I think she said
I
something.
I just want to say thank you to Dr. Z. Thank you so much for pulling everybody together on this.
It's such in the last minute, too. It was at the last minute, too.
I know, right? It was last minute.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robinson.
All right,
really
people.
Appreciate you.
Tonight's podcast is sponsored by Legal Help Firm. If you're injured in a car or truck accident, a victim of police misconduct or shooting, nursing home neglect, and birth injury, call the personal injury civil rights attorney at Legal Help Firm. Area code 312-600-8559. Again, 312-600-8559. Or visit them on Facebook. These are the lawyers that I personally use and trust. All right, people, y'all already know what it is.
You know what it is.
Is what?
Live.
And what?
Uncut. Unedited. Tell the truth and shame the devil.
I love being black. I rest you people.